Is there further discussion? Representative Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the Assembly. I really have been debating within myself whether or not to rise and speak to this issue, but I do feel compelled to for several reasons, even though some have advised me that it may not be wise. But I feel that I do need to explain for the record and for everyone in attendance why I will be voting no on this bill. There are several reasons. The first is not a very emotional reason. It's specific, it's legal. When we're elected to this job as representative, as legislators, as lawmakers, we're given the authority and the duty to uphold, support, and defend the Constitution of the state of North Dakota. It's the Constitution of the state of North Dakota that actually gives us the right and the authority to pass law to bind the actions of men and women within this state. Article 1, Section 21 of the North Dakota Constitution states that, speaking of special privileges and immunities, that no citizen or class of citizens shall be granted privileges or immunities which upon the same terms shall not be granted to all citizens. In this bill, we have specifically excluded religious institutions, religious organizations, and nonprofit organizations that are associated with religious institutions from the prohibitions against discrimination against sexual orientation. This is done specifically for the purpose that there are many churches and church-based and religious-based institutions that exist in this state who would have probably showed up here today in droves in opposition to this bill, should they have been forced to act against their religious tenets or their religious conscience. They have been specifically exempted from this bill. Otherwise, you probably would have heard a little bit more about it. But that's unconstitutional. Immunities that we give to a certain class of citizens must be given to all on the same terms for the same reasons. One group should not be exempt from this law. If we're going to pass a law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, it must apply to all classes of citizens, all classes of businesses, whether they are religious or not religious. To do otherwise is to act unconstitutionally. And I, for one, have sworn an oath publicly in this chamber to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and of this state. I cannot grant special immunities or privileges to anyone. The second issue is more emotional. We've heard quite a bit today about the person of Jesus Christ. His name has been invoked, and the morality of Christianity has been invoked in the name of tolerance and in the name of non-discrimination. And I wholeheartedly agree. As a Christian, I love my enemies. I love those who I disagree with. And I understand that Christ came not for good people or holy people, but he came for sinners. No one can be saved except for sinners, of whom I am chief. And so Christ did come for all people, and he does teach us to love in a like manner. But when it comes to the role of the state, we also hear quite a bit from many who probably support this bill about a separation between church and state, a separation between Christianity and religion and the role of government, that it's not the job of government to impose Christian morals or Christian values upon those who are not willing. And in some areas, I agree. But in areas of natural law, we do have a duty to uphold those things. But it's curious that we should bring Christ into the debate in such a manner, because we heard from representatives that certain people should be forced to act in a certain way even if they disagree. And that's not the message that Jesus taught. That's not the way that Christianity is spread. It's not spread through force. And we can't put the state in the place of God. Christ said to the woman who was caught in adultery, "Where are your accusers? They have fled." Is there none left to accuse you? Jesus said, "I do not accuse you either. Go and sin no more." So Christ accepts all men and women equally, liberally, without respect to anything that they've done, because there is no person better than any other person. But he accepts us as we are, but not to remain as we are. And the implication in this is that there's no differentiation between who we are and who we ought to be, and we're all called to something far greater than what we are, according to Christ. With regards to sexual orientation, and with regards to non-discrimination, religion, all religions that I know of, have many teachings about sexuality and morality and purity in the life of believers. Adultery, fornication, these things are forbidden. And so when we bring morality and religion into this debate, how does morality and religion feel about sexuality, about marriage, about adultery? We have teachings about it. Now, we could debate what the Bible, since we've brought it up, I wasn't going to bring it up, but it was brought into this conversation. We could debate how the Bible speaks about homosexuality, and we don't need to debate. The point is, there are people, honest, sincere, good-hearted people who disagree about the morality of various forms of sexuality. And in this state and in this country, disagreement must be tolerated. I don't think that it is proper to pass an unconstitutional law in the name of tolerance and non-discrimination to not tolerate and to discriminate against those who have a different form of belief in regards to sexual morality. To say that we must love one another, but we don't accept this kind of love that insists on purity in sexual affairs. The state should not be used as a club to silence these men and women with their sincerely held religious beliefs. I personally am accepting of all people. I would gladly hire any person of any sexual orientation or persuasion, irregardless of those factors. What I care about is performance and your ability to do things as a person. And I think just about everyone in this state would concur. But for those in this state who do not concur, or for whom the debate has not been settled, or who do not have the love of Christ shed abroad in their hearts that they might love others as themselves, I don't want to bring the club of the state or the law down to say, here's how you must behave, here is how you must love your neighbor. Because to try to decree love is to annihilate it. The state can't force you in that regard. And so it is for that reason that I will be voting no on this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.